One man who's lifted the international profile, style and handmade quality of South African fashion is a Free State-born milliner, now putting Joburg on the map of the hat-making capitals of the world.
Hi there, Insider SA. I'm Lyndon Miller Pegs of Milliner Bespoke Headwear. Welcome to my showroom and studio. I grew up in Bloem, family of 6, so I was the youngest of 6. I think my siblings would say I was probably the most spoiled, but still a hard worker nonetheless. I've always been into the arts, creating things, dancing, acting, singing. I then went to go and study in Cape Town. I studied performing arts in Cape Town. In my second year as a dancer, I was injured and they made me head of the wardrobe department for shows to still take part. And I think that's where my love for creating things with my hands came. Sewing, gluing, creating wondrous things for stage.
From classic styles, Lyndon's work has steadily come to reflect more homegrown African influences, setting him apart from the competition.
It started a couple of years ago where I was always fascinated by headwear that the royal family would wear, and it would always be amazing to me that these creations would just be sitting perfectly perched on the head, and my thinking is, how does it stay there? So with YouTube pre-COVID and then during COVID, I signed up to a whole bunch of online hat academies, courses, and through that I started training to learn how to create hats. I think a great purpose for me, being a milliner, and the purpose for milliner, is that people who wear hats feel exceptionally beautiful and wonderful and feel confident in wearing them. It's actually quite amazing when someone wears a hat. Whenever I have a display of hats and I try different ones on, not every hat suits the person, but that right hat comes, and the way that person feels when they have that hat on is such a huge driving purpose for me. Great, yeah, that's perfect. That's really good. How does it make you feel?
Great.
Great, amazing. So this is quite an very important and special design to me. It's what I call the African spindle tiara. Tiara being the shape, and then the spindle is almost like Sleeping Beauty, where she could prick her finger on the end of the porcupine quill. This piece as well is something that I created for the Lormeron's King's Plate, a horse race that took place recently, and it's actually made in 2 parts, which is really cool. So the brim is separate to what we call the crown, and I took the 2 and then manipulated, and I freehand styled the brim of the hat. So from my recent collection for the race in January, I created an array of hats and fascinators with blue and white hues, and this is actually one of my other favorites of the collection. It's called the Sword Dancer, and it's named after a winning horse of the King's Plate race.
Using no factory equipment, every piece is the work of Mr. Miller Pegs' own hands.
Welcome to my studio. So this is where all the magic happens. People always ask me, you know, where do I draw inspiration? How do I create them? Do I sketch them first? What I can say is that the inspiration always comes from the main source, the hat block. The hat blocks are the key to every bit of hat making. It is the traditional way of making a hat, where it is a wooden structure that is carved in the style of the hat that you want. I then use fabrics or straws or felts. The hats that you saw in the workshop once looked like this, and they ended up looking like what you've seen. The amazing thing about hat blocks is, as long as they're wood and I can pin into them, I can make a hat. So I've come across some really, really cool things in travels, and one of the things that I found is a traditional Tutsi war bracelet, and they would use it in war. Now, because it's made of wood, I can pin into it, so I can turn it into something crazy, something fun. Some of these hat blocks are even over a century old, and if you look at them carefully, you can actually see pin marks from other milliners throughout history that have made hats with them. And that's the most amazing thing for me, is I'm not only just making hats with hat blocks, I'm making hats with history. Now let me take you through the process of making a hat. It's easy as selecting your block. This one is quite a fun one. I really enjoy it. It's quite popular with the ladies. You then select your straw. Because I really want to protect this, I cover it in cling film just to make sure that our pieces of history are kept for the next generation. I then take my straw, I steam it. I then, once it's malleable, because once it's steamed, it's malleable for me to pull over the block. We pin it into the block, we let it dry, cut it off, and then we adorn it with beautiful embellishment.
Lyndon's husband, Clayton Swanepoel, is a gifted wordsmith who runs a brand events company but moonlights as a milliner.
Clayton and I have been together for 15 years. He's my absolute support, my rock in everything. Even when I come home with the craziest ideas to do something, he's always my biggest fan. He always, is game for any idea or craze that I come up with, and really is just my support through any endeavor, any goal I'm trying to achieve, and I really couldn't do it without him.
Lyndon's work inspires me in so many ways for my own creative endeavors to just keep pushing ahead and persevering and just focusing on goals and just doing the best I can and always showing up for my passion and my craft. And his determination to succeed is just incredible to watch.
Clayton also secretly is a little milliner himself, because when I'm on a deadline for 20 hats, this guy stays up with me until 4 o'clock in the morning, feeding me coffee and every now and then stitching a hat or two himself. So I couldn't do it without him.
As friends and family tell it, Lyndon's talent with hats extends to his and Clayton's flair in the kitchen.
So we're making a salmon pasta. It's actually one of Clay's favorites, and he's actually quite good at it.
The kitchen's definitely a firm favorite for us. We spend a lot of time in this kitchen and outside on the balcony as well. We love entertaining, so we have as many entertainment spots in our house as we can possibly muster. Chairs everywhere, decks everywhere, just loads of spaces to sit out and chill and have a drink with friends and just be merry in general.
I think in life, a really, really important thing and a lesson for everyone to know is appreciate your parents. I think that's something that I've come to know over the past couple of years in my life. Appreciate your parents, appreciate your family, and appreciate the person you spend your life with. I think that is a very big life lesson. It's appreciation and love for those around you. I think the future is bright. I think the future of milliner is international, and I think longevity is the key to what the future will hold. Keep consistent with what I'm doing, keep consistent with how I'm doing it, and keep at it.
From elevating South African hat making, up next, we meet the man who will only make music about love.